So after getting up this morning and, working on some client stuff and getting that all finished fairly early, I I spent the later part of this morning wondering what to vlog about my writing on this book, instead of thinking what to write about or how I wanted to approach my writing for today on this book and then vlog about it. I think it was just another one of those incidents where I started to think, sometimes vlogging about writing gets in the way of writing. So forget that. I don't have a plan for this vlog. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I am going to spend this afternoon working on, what did I name this book for the purposes of YouTube? The Shadow? Was something about shadow? I don't remember. Whatever, my mystery book. I'm going to kind of review what I did yesterday, and I don't know, we're just gonna see what happens. One thing I did yesterday is I sketched out just a little bit of a timeline for this book. It's not a plot. These aren't actually beats. I just know that this group of characters is going to be gathered in this house for 3 nights. So 3 days, 3 nights, and I just split it up. Here's the arrival. Here's the reading of the will, which comes with some other information that I think serves as the catalyst for the book. And then I just wrote, here's the first night, here's the second night, here's the third night. Find the body. That's, a big part of the plot and just something that I see happening at the climax. There's one I'm talking about, obviously, a particular victim. And then here's the end and sort of the wrap up. So this isn't quite a beat sheet. In fact, it's not at all, because I am not sure yet how much page time is going to be devoted to the first day and night and the second day and night, etc. But I just thought, as ideas for scenes come to me and when certain bigger things that I know have to happen, I'm just going to list them when I see them happening. And I've just blocked this here because I already have some stuff written that I don't want to share. So that's what I did yesterday. Just kind of made a very loose little timeline. I'm actually planning a video for next Tuesday on alternatives to outlining your book, because the more, I had that vlog last week, I think, about planning my novel but not plotting it. And I've been having just a lot of great discussions in the comments of those videos, and then just like with author friends, via email and stuff, about, different processes for getting mentally prepared and like on paper prepared to actually write the draft of a book. And I'm just thinking again more and more how like the whole plotting versus pantsing thing is really, it just doesn't apply to most of us. I don't think a lot of people actually do fully a scene by scene, every single detail laid out outline first. And I don't think a lot of people write a first draft with absolutely no planning whatsoever first either. I think we all just kind of like fall somewhere in the middle. We all find these, we have different processes that lay in the middle of this spectrum. I think the reason this is like on my mind a lot right now is because, so I am at the point in my notebook, draft, summary, whatever, where I've told the story up through all of the characters arriving at this house and settling in for the will reading, and what happens, and kind of, this is going to sound so vague, the instructions they receive and information they're given and their reactions to it. And of course the kind of prologue bit about the victim and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death. It's all kind of written up till there. And now I'm at a point where I don't know exactly how I want to continue. We are kind of, sort of maybe entering Act 2-ish. And that's, when I don't have an outline to follow, this is where I know I'm going to meander and wander around a little bit. And to be clear, I am perfectly fine with meandering. I am not looking, I don't expect to, when I finish writing this story in this notebook, I don't expect it to be perfectly linear. I don't expect to use everything I put in it. I'm attempting discovery writing, guys. That's what I'm doing. And when you're going to discover some things that are great, and you're going to discover some things that later you need to throw away. I think that's just part of the process. Another thing that I've been thinking about, but it didn't fully consciously click for me until I read a comment from Joey on my last blog, that when I was talking about the difference between writing kidlit and writing adult fiction is, and this is so blatantly obvious, I just hadn't thought about it this way, is that when you're writing, as I am used to, writing middle grade characters, writing characters who are in the age range of 10 to 13. And where are you going? Why? Where's it? Come on. I'm so used to being in that headspace. Every character I write is different, just like obviously every kid is different, but I've just had a lot of practice at being in that puberty or just about to hit puberty kind of headspace and where you are at that time of your life. A lot of it, especially in the beginning, was just remembering what it was like for me, but also, I'm a teacher. I've been around so many kids, and yeah, that also makes it easier, I think, for me to just remember that time. Plus, I read a lot of middle grade. If you're wondering, if you're writing YA or adult fiction and you are trying to write middle grade, best thing you can do is just read a bunch of really, really good middle grade. And, I would say obviously vice versa. If you've been writing a lot of kidlit as I have, and you want to write adult fiction as I do, you need to read a lot of adult. And I have. I mean, I've said this a lot. I've always read widely in all genres and for all age ranges, but the thing I read most are thrillers, mysteries, psychological thrillers in the adult genre or fiction section, blah. Anyway, so back to my incredibly obvious little revelation. The biggest thing that I need to focus on right now as I'm really developing these characters and learning more about them is honestly, to me, this is really fun fact that their backstories are so much longer and complicated because they're old. They haven't just had 13 years on this earth. The main character, I'm not sure of her exact age range yet, but she's somewhere within a few years of my age. Most of the characters are in, well, you know what, I can't even say their 30s or 40s. I've got one who's definitely going to have a POV and he's in his 60s. And then I've got another one who's younger. He's like in his late 20s. Been a while since I've been there. So I've got like kind of a spectrum of age ranges as far as like the POV characters for this book, which is really exciting and definitely a challenge for me. And as I'm like writing, keeping track on my suspects chart of things like their secrets and their wants and their needs, I'm having more and more little epiphanies about them. Like, oh, I figured out, oh my gosh, my main character's best friend, who is a very important character in this book, she was one of the ones that early on, I didn't know what her secret was. And I thought, she doesn't have a secret. I knew her backstory. She went through something pretty tragic and traumatic a few years prior to the start of the book. I knew that. I knew a lot of other stuff about her, but she wasn't a character with secrets, and that's fine. Not all your characters have to have secrets. And then as I was kind of brainstorming thinking about the scene near the end where my main character is going to confess her secret to her friend, I realized the reason I saw this side character acting a certain way and getting more and more uncomfortable throughout the book, there was a very specific reason for that, and that reason is her secret. She is, for very, very good reasons, keeping something from everyone, including her children. The two, I think I mentioned before that I will have I think she's either 13 or 14-year-old protagonist. I'm gonna have her point of view for sure. And then her older brother, he's about 16. They are this side character's children, and they're all together at this house as well. And I realized, as close as this woman is with her two kids, there is something that she has kept from them, again, for very, very good reason, that she kept from me for a while until I started thinking about her discussion that she'll have with the protagonist later in the book. And it just really made me realize, man, like, these people have just lived more life, and there's just so much more to explore there. And you know, one of my favorite things about multi-POV books in any genre is when you really get to get into their perspective. You learn what makes them tick and why they are seeing the current situation play out the way they are seeing it. You know, I know this is all very obvious, but it made me realize that I think the next thing I want to do is explore all of my characters a little bit more. And that might be through writing in a sort of linear sense what happens to each of them as they stay at this house for these 3 nights. Or it might be just like doing a whole lot of info dumping. I think I'm gonna have to do some of that just to get it out of my head and on the page. And that's fine. I'm actually considering, if you know the snowflake method of outlining, there is a step later in the process that I actually never used to do when I used the snowflake method, where you stop where you are in your outline and you write a full synopsis of the story from start to finish from the point of view of every character, regardless of whether they get a POV in your draft or not. So like you write the synopsis from the villain's point of view, which by the way is always a great idea, and I was definitely planning on doing that, but for every single character. And I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe I'll try a short version of that, like, you know, summarizing what happens to this side character with the kids, what happens to her over the course of these 3 nights and how does she feel, and then what happens to that 27-year-old over the course of the 3 nights, what happens, you know, to my main character. Obviously all of them, go through all of them, whether they get a POV or not. Just spend some time writing. When more of their backstory comes to me, info dump it out, let it exist on the page and see what it is. And of course, my villain, which I'm very excited about writing from their point of view. And then when I have all of these synopses, maybe I'll start to see more connections, like, oh, on the second night, that's a big night because this is going to happen, or this confrontation is going to happen. I don't know. I know this isn't discovery writing in the pantsing sense of the word, because I'm not talking about actually writing a draft, but I do think it qualifies as some sort of discovery writing because, you know, it's not quite outlining, but it's not quite drafting. It's just somewhere floating in the middle here. I don't know if any of that makes sense. Good thing I'm trying to make a video about this for next Tuesday. That should be fun. So anyway, I'm going to turn off the camera and stop rambling now and actually get to work and do some writing. Don't you just love it when you say, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this, and then you immediately proceed to do this? I had full intentions of writing a synopsis of the story from a few different characters' points of view, like I said. That is not what happened. What happened is this. So as I said, I left off yesterday with the reading of the will of the victim, and of course there is a little twist, a little surprise. I'm not fully ripping off Knives Out, I swear. It's not that the money went to somebody that they weren't expecting. It's a different kind of twist, and it puts the spotlight on my main character in a way that makes her deeply uncomfortable and very confused, and also a bit suspicious, both to the other characters and if I do this right to the reader. Because even though we're in her point of view, she is clearly withholding some stuff. And she's maybe not entirely reliable. So that was where I left off. And so when I sat down to write earlier, and I thought, okay, well, obviously the best place to start is with this main character. How does she react to this, and how in the immediate aftermath, like while they're all still in the same room, gathered together for the first time, how does each of the other characters react to what they just learned? And, you know, I wrote one sentence for each character describing exactly what they do, and I ended up coming up with, like, one of them stays to chat her up a bit and, like, clearly wants to get closer to her and get some more information, to go off together, etc. You see what I mean? And when I saw, oh, okay, so this character, he wants to stick around, he wants to, like, buddy up with her, see if he can dig a little deeper and find out a little more, I immediately started to see that scene. So I just kind of went ahead and summarized that scene. And what do you know, I found a really great place to end it. I think I mentioned this last week, but I was trying to, as I wrote a summary of every scene, I wanted to figure out what it was about that scene that would get the reader and myself interested in reading the next scene. And I found that thing, that little extra reveal at the end, the little surprise that makes you say, oh, okay, what happens next? And then I was like, okay, well, that's the end of a scene. So actually, I kind of want to swing over now. These two characters, they went off together to discuss what just happened. What's their relationship? And I picked which point of view I'm writing from. In this case, it is the point of view I mentioned earlier of a man who's in his 60s. I don't know his exact age yet. And another character who's, well, maybe in her 50s, I'm not sure, somewhere like that. And they're discussing what just happened. They know each other through a professional capacity, but they are not, like, close by any means. And, you know, they have secrets, and they have their own motivations and wants while being here. And what's really becoming interesting to me is that the money, which is usually what everybody cares about when there's a will reading, the money isn't really it for everybody. You know, that is not the primary thing driving all of them, particularly this 60-something-year-old man whose point of view I was writing in. And I wrote a little conversation. I even had some dialogue, just a little back and forth between them. She's pretty guarded, but she tells him some stuff. He keeps a lot of stuff. He's a cards close to the chest kind of guy, so he doesn't really give her much to go on. And again, kind of found a natural good ending point with his scene. And I was like, okay, I'll pull back from that. And I hopped over to my 13, 14-year-old girl character. She was not present at the will reading. She was not invited, neither was her brother. They were off in the house exploring. And I just thought, yeah, what are they doing? Okay, so I started drafting that. And so you see what I'm saying? I'm rambling on and on. I ended up just continuing doing what I was doing before and summarizing every scene. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing what I was doing. I guess I didn't really try anything new or learn anything new today. More just that the way, no, you know what? I take it back. What I learned is that this process that I thought I was going to do, summarizing the novel in a linear fashion, it is continuing to work for me. I just needed to, when I started to work today, when I just opened the notebook and look at where I left off, which was drawing that timeline, I was a little bit stuck. I wasn't sure what scene came next now that this one big important moment had happened. And sometimes we just need to play a little trick on our brain. And in my case, it was saying, oh, I'm gonna try summarizing the entire story from each point of view character. Not that that couldn't have worked. I'm sure for some other projects or other writers that would have worked, but today I just needed to tell myself, oh, we're gonna do something different in order to actually get my pen on the paper and start writing. And once I started writing, I went back into the same process of just telling the story scene by scene. And this is such a fun way of working. And part of me is like, why have I never tried writing a story by hand in a notebook before? But another part of me knows that it wouldn't have worked for me in the past. It's just kind of like my season of life. And also this particular book, it's just, I don't know, it's just exactly what I needed. So like I said earlier, for next Tuesday, I'm planning a kind of writing workshop video on alternative methods to outlining your novel. So in other words, if outlining is not for you, if it makes you feel restricted, if you don't like it for whatever reason, but you also feel like not at all prepared to just jump in and start drafting, I want to offer, I have at least 3 so far, like specific other methods you can use to plan in a way that is not plotting. And like I said, I have 3 so far that I spent some time working out this morning. Honestly, you will be unsurprised to hear that one is pretty much what I've been doing with my book, but I've also been talking to some other writers and hearing about what they're doing, and I'm, using things I learned from those discussions to come up with these other methods. I really hope they're useful. If you have a method of planning for writing a novel but not actually plotting a novel, that you think is a really good one that other writers could benefit from, please let me know about it in the comments. Of course, you will be credited. I'm still going to be working on that video over the weekend, so I'll have time to read all the comments and everything. And yeah, I would love to hear how you plan, or if you have some method that doesn't get talked about a lot that you feel like doesn't fall into plotting or pantsing. Otherwise, that's going to be it for this vlog. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Let me know how your writing is going in the comments below, and I will see you on Tuesday with that video. Bye.